Anning was hit and killed by a car while saving a child, and after becoming a drifter in the world for nearly 18 years, she has seen through the world. Her parents also passed away one after another due to her death, thinking that she would be like this in this lifetime. One night, Anning was attracted by a glowing object and was sucked in by it. When she opened her eyes again, it turned out she was back at the age of 17, and nothing had happened yet. At the same time, she also gained powerful golden fingers in a portable space, inheriting the legacy of Qinglan Fairy. However, this space is about to collapse due to a lack of spiritual energy as it brings her back. In order to repay 7 treasures for their help and with the heart of helping their parents live a good life, they peacefully embarked on the path of entrepreneurship, accumulating merit and repairing space. Ling Tong breaks the jade, absorbing spiritual energy for use in space. In his past life, when he was Piao, Anning also learned a lot. In order to fulfill his own wishes and repair space, Anning embarked on a completely different path. And in Rebirth, many truths have emerged one by one, accidentally saving a man in black, but being entangled by him. Su Yiqing hugged Anning against the wall, and with a wicked smile, he said, "We are destined to have a marriage. If you don't follow me, I will follow you." Absolutely favored, as always, with dual purity, involving antiques, commerce, and other mystical matters, returning. I hope that new and old relatives can continue to support fairies, Momoda. Keywords of the novel. Space Rebirth Pill Medical Merchant Female No Pop-up Window, Space Rebirth Pill Medical Merchant Female Complete Collection Download, Space Rebirth Pill Medical Merchant Female Latest Chapter Reading. Chapter 1. Qinglan Space. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1 Qinglan Space. You say, do you want me or her? On the fashion square, a woman angrily tugged at a man's sleeve and asked. The man frowned and pushed away the woman pulling him, walking towards another beautiful woman who had fallen to the ground pitifully. Heart, are you okay? Did you hurt anything? Su Jian, you damn bastard. The woman who was thrown away roared angrily. Following the onlookers, they saw the man suddenly pounce forward, pressing the beautiful woman to the ground. His head even touched the woman's nose, which appeared in a strange state. Her originally bright appearance instantly became ugly and ferocious. Ah, my nose, this nose has only been done for a while, it's worth 18,000. The woman who was called Heart screamed, but she didn't dare to touch her nose casually because the prosthesis was crooked, and her nose was sore and painful. Su Jian was also stunned. Looking at the woman, he clearly didn't expect her to be an artificially created beauty. Ha ha ha. Retribution, it's retribution. Maybe everything on her except for her ID card is fake, so you treat her like a treasure. Su Jian, we're done. The previous woman laughed at this scene and turned around, shedding a line of tears. Let's just forget about it. Ning was floating in mid-air, and just now she used her soul power to push the man. As a lonely and wild ghost, she couldn't remember seeing such things many times. The world is desolate, and nowadays most people are indifferent, just like those who watch the excitement and even use their phones to record or live stream. No one came forward to help, instead treating their private affairs as a lively one. Her name is Anning. 18 years ago, she was killed by a car while trying to save a little boy who was almost hit by a car. It's ridiculous that she saved the child, but the child's mother was afraid of getting into trouble and getting entangled by her parents. She hugged the child and ran away. After her death, she became a ghost and for some reason did not enter the ghost world for reincarnation. On the contrary, she wandered in this world, even in broad daylight, she could wander in the sunlight, and other ghosts treated her as an outsider, repelling her and not getting close to her. Shortly after her death, her mother Su Liyun, who was already in poor health, was deeply affected and fell ill. She went away in less than 6 months. One day, my father An's Yuan was also hit and killed by a car because he ran a red light by mistake due to his dazed expression. At that time, my grandfather was already paralyzed in bed, unable to suppress my grandmother's influence. The compensation for my father's death was also divided among my grandmother, her uncle, and others, but she hastily buried her father. This is the most infuriating thing for Anning, but at that time she had no soul power and could not do anything. She could only stare angrily at her uncle and others. What's going on lately? Why do you think back to the past? Anning realized that she had fallen back into memories and couldn't help but chuckle and mock herself. Is she old? Is it still going to dissipate? Today she always feels restless and unconsciously drifts into a big mountain. She has been here before. A year ago, she followed a group of tomb raiders, and over the years, she often entered some ancient tombs to see if there were any other ghosts present. Most of them are bones, and there are also loyal souls or masters guarding the ancient tomb. Those ghosts are mostly trapped in their own haunted houses and cannot go out, but they do not discriminate against her. She has also learned a lot from these ghosts. Even some ghost messengers were very familiar with her. Those ghost messengers looked at her pitifully and often took care of her. They even taught her many magic techniques in the ghost world. Oh, what's that? She drifted aimlessly, with a flickering light not far away, and curiously passed by. She can use her soul power to tease creatures, but she cannot touch dead objects. Seeing something glowing on the ground, she curiously reached out and thought it would cross over as before. However, she touched the black yet glowing ring, and then she knew nothing. Because she was sucked in by the ring. Hiss, why is your finger so painful? Anning had just woken up when she received the pain from her right finger and couldn't help but make a sound. Something's wrong. Anning opened her eyes and realized that everything in front of her was so familiar that she wanted to shed tears. Is this her room? Me, do I have a physical body? Then, Anning discovered something that made her very happy, which was that she had a physical body. Hurriedly getting up, she found the mirror in the room and saw a familiar and tender face, but the difference was that her face was rosy, no longer a pale and bloodless ghost face. What's going on? Anning was puzzled and looked down to see an orchid-shaped mark on her index finger. I remember, I don't have this birthmark. Anning reached out to touch the birthmark on her hand and instantly disappeared into the room. In a blink of an eye, she appeared in a space, but there were cracks everywhere. There was a towering mountain, and a luxurious and majestic palace located on the top of the mountain. She could clearly feel everything inside the palace, but strangely, she was standing in front of a courtyard at the foot of the mountain. This is an ordinary bamboo yard, with a pool of water next to it that emits white liquid. On the right side of the yard, there are some fields with black soil, about an eighth the size of a field. You are now in the Qinglan Ring, which is a divine artifact space that Qinglan Fairy accidentally obtained. Unfortunately, Qinglan Fairy was forced to death by those greedy immortals, and I crawled into the cracks of time and space when Qinglan Fairy self-destructed and arrived at a place called Earthstar. Due to consuming too much energy and the lack of spiritual energy on this planet, I fell asleep for more than 1,000 years. Today, I felt your presence, my master, which led me to come. Just now, 7 treasures had successfully recognized their master. A voice sounded from behind Anning. Turning around and looking over, there was a cute girl in ancient costume talking, but she was very small, about the size of a palm. Who are you? How can I not understand? Anning was puzzled, and Huobao was not in a hurry. He stepped forward and touched Anning's forehead with his hand. Anning had already accepted the inheritance of Qinglan Fairy when he recognized the Lord, and the foundation-building treasure, Mullein Flower, left by Qinglan Fairy, entered the foundation-building period directly. Anning also knows what cultivation is and its classification. Cultivation can be divided into realms such as Qi refining, foundation building, fusion, golden elixir, yuanying, distraction, combination, crossing calamity, and Mahayana. Each cultivation level is divided into 5 levels of realm. Going further up is the realm of immortals, and there are also cultivators on the Earth star. However, these cultivators are all left behind by disciples from various sects who did not have enough cultivation during their migration. Nowadays, due to the lack of cultivation techniques, the cultivation lineage has long withered and has become an ancient martial arts sect. Some ancient martial arts families also have ancestors who have entered the Qi refining stage, all of whom are competing with the heavenly way and hoping to further their existence. So, I am already a cultivator now. Anning opened her eyes and entered here, where the ink orchid was officially fused. The ink orchid is a very gentle foundation-building magic weapon. The peaceful body has been successfully washed with marrow, and the originally slightly yellowish skin has become fair and delicate. The originally only 1.63 meters tall has also risen to 1.68 meters tall, and the already beautiful face has become more delicate. Yes, master, not only that, but you also have a pair of spirit pupils and ghost eyes. The left one is the ghost eye, which you will have after death. Especially the spirit pupils, when cultivated to the extreme, you can see through the past and future. The master also sees the state of this space. If it weren't for Huobao's support, this place would collapse. Therefore, master, Huobao hopes that you will come to Qinglan Ring to practice every night in the future. Use these abnormal pupils as soon as possible to help Huobao recover, at least not in such a broken and tattered state, as if it is about to collapse at any time. Huobao nodded and informed Anning of the supernatural ability she accidentally obtained after her rebirth. Is it because of me that I became like this? What should I do? Anning felt very uncomfortable and quickly asked. Master, don't worry, it won't collapse in a short while. You can use your ghost eyes to help those lonely and wild ghosts in need, fulfill their wishes, and reincarnate. And you can help them gain merit, which can repair the space. The spiritual pupils can be seen through in the early stage, and the jade has spiritual power inside, which can absorb and repair space for me. Besides, your wish is to keep your close relatives and lead them to a good life. So, the jade that I have absorbed spiritual energy from can also be sold for money. As long as these cracks are gone, the Qinglan Ring can repair it on its own, and there is no need to absorb spiritual energy as the master's cultivation breaks through. The space will also be lifted from prohibition. As long as the treasure pavilion is opened, there will be spirit stones inside for the space to maintain. Of course, those ancient artifacts also contain spiritual energy and can be absorbed. Rare medicinal herbs can also be used, so master, you need to cheer, Huobao said with a smile. Anning nodded seriously and said, I do. After being a ghost for so many years, I have also learned a lot. Since I can be reborn, it is God who cares for me. I will definitely repair you. In this life, I will take a different path and bring happiness to my family. Master, you can definitely do it. Master, this is the heavenly spirit technique cultivated by Qinglan Fairy. It is a talisman and a pharmacopoeia, and you can use it as an auxiliary skill to enhance yourself. Although Qinglan Ring is broken, it is still different from the outside world. The time ratio is 1.3, so you can practice with peace of mind. It is now 11 p.m. outside, and tomorrow at 6 p.m., Huobao will call you. Huobao transmitted the content of the 3 jade slips to Anning. After washing the marrow, Anning has already mastered the unforgettable function. Anning thanked him and found a place to sit down, practicing the basic 5 elements technique according to the mnemonic in the martial arts. Master, it's almost 6 o'clock. Anning has already gained preliminary control over the 5 elements magic, and the ancient martial arts moves have also been remembered in her mind. What she lacks now is practical combat experience. Huobao said that she will come in tonight and arrange a puppet to fight against her. At this moment, Anning was drawing a wooden spirit talisman, and when the last stroke was completed, the talisman was automatically turned into ashes, rendering it useless. Exhaling a mouthful of turbid air, Anning put down a brush made of unknown spirit beast hair and touched the 7 treasures that were encouraging her. Don't rush for a moment, I'll go out first. Master mentioned in the record that purple energy comes from the east in the morning, which is rare spiritual energy. Don't forget to absorb some. She said the new article has opened, and we hope that passing relatives can support us. The author is an old author dressed in a ponytail, with a nickname of Purple Fox Blood. You can also follow me and I love you all. Public seal, without notice, will be updated by 2,000 yuan per day. If there is a recommendation, it will be updated. Update time, from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. every day. Thank you for your support and bow. Thank you. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Lerong Home. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Lerong Home Huobao nodded, and Anning already knew how to enter and exit the Qinglan ring. His mind suddenly appeared inside the room. Now is the summer vacation of 1998 in Dixing Huaxiao. After the summer vacation, she will be a high school third-grade candidate, so if she wants to do something, she must complete it during the summer vacation. Anning's home is in Z City, a second-rate small city. Speaking of which, there are also several small ancient tombs in Z City. She can take advantage of some time to retrieve the contents inside, otherwise it will still be taken by a group of thugs this winter. Open the wardrobe and take out a set of sportswear to change into. Gently go to the bathroom, wash up, and Ning Ning returns to the room to get some pocket money before turning around and leaving. At less than 6 o'clock, the sun had slowly risen and walked out of the entrance of the community. Looking at the first day, she saw a faint purple glow in a daze. A glimmer of light flashed in Anning's eyes, and an invisible purple aura entered her eyes. Her eyes were even brighter and more brilliant. 7 treasures also took the opportunity to absorb some of it. Purple chi is a rare spiritual energy, but it is also impossible to be absorbed all at once. Anning and 7 treasures only absorbed some, and the sun had slowly risen, and the purple chi had dissipated. Anning also knows not to be impatient. It seems that after a long time, absorbing purple energy is only an instant. Anning walked towards the park not far from the community and jogged for morning exercises. After undergoing bone marrow washing, her previously poor body became stronger and she ran several laps without even needing to catch her breath. After running 10 laps, Anning found an open space to practice ancient martial arts moves. It was a set of palm techniques, and he didn't know what the 7 treasures were, so Anning naturally didn't even know. After completing a set of palm techniques, it's almost 7 o'clock. As soon as he stopped to finish his work, applause came from behind, and Anning had already noticed the old man. Seeing the other person applauding, I couldn't help but shyly smile and say, "Let this grandfather laugh." "Oh, how could that be? But little girl, your palm technique is unique. Where did you learn it from?" The old man in Tang costume smiled and said. Anning smiled and said, "My grandfather used to be in the military. Our cousins have been learning from him since childhood, and he doesn't know what this palm technique is. I heard it was taught by an old man he saved. He said he was practicing to strengthen his body, so he has been persistently practicing it. I didn't notice anything else, but my health is indeed good. The little girl is pretty good. Do you often exercise here? I live near here, and I think you are quite compatible with me. I just moved here. If you don't mind my old man, how about we get together?" The old man had a smile on his face. He had been a ghost for so many years and was quite accurate in seeing people. This old man has a sense of luxury on his body, and his eyes are clear without any other connotations. If she remembers correctly, this is Zhao Chenghua, the head of jewelry in the Jin dynasty. If you want to earn your first bucket of gold in this sea city station at this age, you need to have connections. Now that Zhao has a good impression of her, she can make friends and pave the way for her future. Not to mention her reality, after being a ghost for so many years, she has seen through the coolness of the world. However, for those who are kind to her, she will naturally repay them more. Okay, since you don't mind my young age when you're old, there's nothing I can refuse. So Grandpa, starting from 5.30 tomorrow morning, we'll gather here every day and exercise together. My name is Anning, peaceful Ning. Anning smiled and said. My surname is Zhao. If you don't give up, just call me Grandpa Zhao. How about calling you Miss Ning? Zhao Qinghua looked more and more at this girl. He wasn't someone who easily looked up to someone, but the little girl in front of him was a special case. Especially those eyes. He had read countless people, but he had never seen such clear eyes before. Okay, Grandpa Zhao, let's meet tomorrow. I should go back now. I'll be worried if my parents see me later. Anning smiled and said goodbye to Zhao Qinghua, who nodded and watched as she ran away. Master, it's been a long time since you laughed like this. A sturdy man walked out of the room, probably Zhao Qinghua's bodyguard and assistant. Well, Xiao Chen, what do you think of this little girl? Zhao Qinghua smiled and asked Xiao Chen, walking back. Xiao Chen also smiled and said, the little girl is very beautiful. At first glance, she looks very clean, giving people a sense of tranquility. Seeing her smile makes it feel like all the restlessness has dissipated. Well, her smile is really infectious, and I really like her. Zhao Qinghua chuckled, and Xiao Chen followed behind with a smile on his face. Ning Ning went out for a morning run. Su Liyun heard the door open and came out of the kitchen. Seeing her daughter carrying soybean milk deep-fried dough sticks, she said with a smile. Later, when I saw my daughter's sportswear, I was slightly taken aback and a hint of guilt flashed on my face. Turning back to the kitchen, Anning noticed her mother's expression and lowered her head to look at her. She also smiled helplessly. She successfully washed her marrow last night and grew much taller. Fortunately, her parents have been busy lately, but they didn't notice her sudden growth. Otherwise, she really wouldn't know how to explain. An Yuan saw his wife come in with a guilty expression on her face and couldn't help but ask in confusion, what's wrong? Didn't you feel okay just now? Husband, we really ignored Ning Ning's child too much. Just now, I saw that her sports pants were all tucked up to her ankles. Obviously, she's been growing taller lately, and we've been working overtime lately. We haven't taken good care of our child. Later, you can give the child some money and let them buy some clothes on their own. After all, she's a big girl and doesn't have suitable clothes, so she might be laughed at by her classmates. Upon hearing this, An Ziyuan frowned and felt guilty in his eyes. He quickly replied, okay, daughter.in.law, you're right. We can't just focus on work. We'd rather become a big girl in the blink of an eye. We really can't ignore these things too much. It's not your fault, but I, as a mother, am too irresponsible. Su Liyun saw her husband feel guilty and quickly said. The couple felt guilty inside the house, but they didn't know that their daughter had become different. They listened to all of their conversation in their ears. Anning felt embarrassed. It's really not her parents' fault for this matter. She even hurriedly said, Mom and Dad, breakfast is ready. Come out and eat quickly. It's getting cold later. Ah, here we are. The couple responded and walked out. Su Liyun handed Anning 200 yuan. Don't be fooled by the fact that 200 is not enough. At this time in 1998, 200 can do a lot of things. Ning Ning, your clothes are all short, and you just had a vacation. You don't have to rush to do your homework. Mom has been busy lately, so I won't go shopping with you. You can go buy some clothes yourself. And Ning looked at her mother, her eyes full of laughter, suppressing the excitement of seeing her parents again. She obediently thanked her, thank you, Mom, Dad. I will definitely work hard, daughter. This child, why are you being polite to your parents? Su Liyun smiled and patted her daughter, pulling her into the seat together. An Ziyuan looked at his wife and daughter and smiled happily. Although the family conditions were not top-notch, such a happy and harmonious day made him feel very satisfied in his heart. Updated to Yo, end of this chapter. Chapter 3. Cool Men, Inspiration. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Cool Men, Inspiration. After her parents had breakfast, Anning helped her mother clean up the leftovers on the table, and she also carried a bag out of the house and went out with her parents. Ziyuan, Liyun is going to work. Aunt Qiang next door greeted the family of 3 with a smile. Yeah, and Ziyuan responded with a smile, while Ning greeted Aunt Qiang. Aunt Qiang looked at Ning downstairs, her eyes flashing with amazement. The man from Aunt Zhang's family also came out to prepare for work. She looked downstairs and stretched out her head, only to find that there was nothing, and then asked in confusion, "What are you looking at here all morning?" "Look at that girl from Anning, I haven't seen her in the past few days." "Anning is actually becoming more and more beautiful," Aunt Qiang smiled. Upon hearing these words, Guan Yongming couldn't help but roll his eyes and casually said, "Look at you, both of you have good looks, and the girl is definitely not much different. You forgot. When you were a child, Ning was very water-spirited, with a pair of water-spirited eyes. It must be the age of Changkai. The girl's family must have grown more and more outstanding. Look at which girls are getting uglier and uglier as they grow. That's right, as long as there's no problem, most of them look good." Aunt Qiang smiled and saw her husband walking outside. She quickly said, "Lao Guan, wait for me to come with you." "Then hurry up," Guan Yongming replied and stopped in his tracks. Aunt Qiang went back to her house to get her bag, and then walked to her son's room. When she saw her son still asleep, she shook him and said, "Qiang, you can eat for yourself at noon. Don't run around. Mom put the money on your table for you. Don't just focus on sleeping, and don't drink too much cold soda. Don't take a cold shower when you come back from playing basketball, remember. I'm bored to death, I know." Guan Qiang was murmured by his mother. Aunt Qiang sighed. Why didn't she give birth to a small cotton jacket back then? This son is really worrying. Sighs return to sighs, but they are just random thoughts. She really gave birth to a granddaughter, and her mother-in-law didn't let her go for the first time. These days, the shops are still quite early. Anning took a car to the city center, but didn't go to that big shopping mall. Instead, he started browsing through some decent-looking shops. She really picked out many high-quality clothes, and more importantly, the prices were beautiful. After negotiating a set of sportswear for only 50 yuan, I happily paid for it, wrapped up my clothes, and went to another store. For 30 yuan, I bought a yellow dress, 2 short-sleeved printed T-shirts for 15 yuan, and a pair of denim pants for 20.8 yuan. After paying the money, I went to another store to buy an ankle-length pleated skirt, and everything was ready. There is a small antique market in the old city area of Z, although there may not be real things, you can still go and try your luck. She found an empty alley, collected things from Qinglan, turned around and walked towards the bus stop. In no time, the bus arrived and got on the number 4 bus. Looking at the familiar yet unfamiliar street in front of her, her heart gradually calmed down. She has really been reborn, and heaven really favors her. If she had chosen again, she would not regret saving that child. In the years when she became a ghost, she would have gone to see that child. The mother of that child didn't know if she had been punished or what. After her death, her health became worse and worse. She spent a lot of money but still couldn't survive. When she died, she was also there. When the woman saw her, she also thought of something and apologized repeatedly, leaving tears of regret. That child is quite good. Later, he was admitted to a famous university in the country and married a girl he liked. Before she returned, the girl also had a child in her belly. She never resented that child, but she was very unhappy with the drunk driver. However, the person was also punished and he escaped and was caught. She hates and dislikes her uncle and grandmother, but her grandfather treats her sincerely and leaves a place for her at every party. No matter how unlucky her uncle and others feel, he always remains like this. She has returned, she will definitely practice well and won't let her grandfather suffer from stroke and paralysis again. We've arrived at the station, have you got off yet? The familiar hometown dialect rang in my ears as the ticket seller shouted, getting up and getting off peacefully. Looking at the somewhat antique shop in front of me, a smile appeared on my face. Walking towards a shop, a cool man in black walked up the road ahead, more than those little fresh meats from later generations. Anning looked at the other person generously, and the person also noticed Anning's fiery gaze, glanced at her, and then passed by. Anning smiled. He was really a handsome guy, and he was also a legendary cold and handsome guy. She can be considered to have made a profit. The first big benefit of being reborn, hee. Su Yiqing didn't expect the girl who had just passed him by to have so much in her mind. Originally, in his opinion, being looked at would not have resulted in a loss of flesh, but it was just a chance encounter. From childhood to adulthood, it was not the first time that this kind of attention caught a girl's attention. Ignoring it was unexpected that they would meet again so quickly, still in that situation. Anning came out of the first shop and felt a bit disappointed. Most of the things sold at this shop were handicrafts, and they even claimed that the price was exorbitant. I visited several shops, but none of them were genuine. I had already wanted to go back, but unexpectedly saw a small and inconspicuous shop. Anning lifted her foot and walked in. The shop owner was an old lady. When she came in, she looked up and didn't speak. She was a very cold old lady. Anning, however, glanced at the old lady for no other reason. She turned out to be an ancient martial artist with some spiritual power fluctuations on her body, and was about to enter the qi refining stage. How could she not be surprised? Although the store is small, there are many things to offer. Accidentally catching a glimpse of something in a small box, Anning took it out and asked, "Grandma, how does this thing sell?" The old lady looked up and touched the big flower cat in her arms. With just one glance, she lowered her head and said, "This thing has been idle there for almost 20 years, but it's just a fake. If you like it, you can take it for 10 yuan. Anning glanced at the small-necked porcelain vase with a palm size in her hand again, and couldn't help but laugh at the old lady's straightforward truth. No wonder, this real thing is hidden inside. It's no wonder the old lady didn't notice it. He stepped forward and paid the money, as it was also considered a benefit from the old lady. Ning Ning turned around and walked to the old lady before leaving. The cat in the old lady's arms opened its eyes and glanced at Ning Ning, then closed its eyes to enjoy the old lady's constant caresses. The old lady also looked at Anning with confusion, frowned, and said, "If you don't want the goods out of the container, they will be discounted." Anning chuckled lightly and then bent down to say a few words in the old lady's ear. The old lady immediately opened her eyes wide, and when she regained consciousness and chased after her, Anning happened to get in the car. She anxiously changed her voice and said, "Front. Little girl, please stay." Updated to. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. A Strange Flower. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. A strange flower, the day will be long, let's wait for fate, Anning replied, seemingly with her mouth twitching, but her voice was as if it were in the old lady's ear. The old lady became even more excited, she really met a master. I was surprised that she was just a little girl, and then I thought to myself that she was only hiding here now. How could she not prove that she came from the hidden world? Thinking about what the other person had just said, I was extremely excited and closed the door early. When I returned to the room, I lay on the bed and entered a state of cultivation. Anning just said 2 words in her ear, which were the initial mnemonic that could help her enter the qi refining stage. It only depends on whether the old lady really has talent, and entering the qi refining stage is a matter of talent and time. It has been half an hour since I returned to the city again. I strolled to the famous business district of Z City and found a small shop to eat a bowl of liangpi. Just as I was about to go back, I met my classmate, Lin Yuan, who was in the same class for both middle and high school. She was her good friend and desk mate. This name is very fun and easy to remember. It's been a while since I last saw you, Ning Ning. How come you've become so white and beautiful? Summer vacation has only been about 10 days, but the piece in front of me has greatly changed. Her skin is fair and delicate, her eyes are big and watery, as if she can speak, her lips are pink and beautiful, and she is a vivid little beauty. Before, Ning Ning was also beautiful, but her skin used to be slightly yellow with small freckles, which is not as beautiful as it is now. Maybe the facial mask my mother brought back not long ago worked. It said that rich people have applied it, and my mother also helped a rich lady accidentally, so the person took 3 boxes of facial mask to my mother. My mother pushed it for several times, but after the leader agreed, she accepted it, and I also used 2. This is true. It was only when I saw it in the bathroom that I remembered it. It seems that the lady lost the pendant that her daughter gave her. The lady was grateful that her mother even chased after her to give her such a small item, so she took it to thank her. This also shows that the other party's mother-daughter relationship is very good. What kind of facial mask? The rich lady, it must be the imported expensive one. It's really good. When I have pocket money in the future, I will buy a box of it for use. Lin Yuan didn't think that she should use the facial mask at home in peace. She didn't have such a big face, not to mention that it was a thank that you gift from others. Let's save it together, that's interesting. Anning bumped into the forest garden and said with a smile. Lin Yuan smiled and said, all right, let's make a deal. You keep the box when the time comes, and we won't have enough money to save, but we don't have any reference points anymore. It's not foolish. Haha, that's right. So why did you come out today? Anning smiled and then asked again. I came out to buy some clothes, but I didn't take a liking to them. Sometimes I'm really jealous of you tall and thin people. No matter how you buy clothes, they look good. You're not like me, round and round. If it weren't for the mold, I could still pass it. If it weren't for the cuteness, I really wouldn't be able to live. Lin Yuan, this girl, has always been outgoing and free-spirited, very likable. Although you're growing slowly now, isn't it that you're not growing anymore? When it comes to your slightly chubby figure, I have a way to help you lose weight, but I'm not sure if you can hold on, the two of them said as they walked. Upon hearing these words, Lin Yuan's eyes lit up and he looked at Ning eagerly. Good Ning Ning, tell me. I can't bear any hardship. I must lose weight this summer. First of all, it's important to exercise. Then, with a balanced diet and exercise, there's no problem losing weight. If you come to my house later, I'll write you a recipe list and a daily exercise plan. You happen to be good at dancing, so you can switch to dancing in the afternoon. Anning quickly came up with a plan. She has ghostly eyes, which are not just for seeing ghosts and perspective. Some symptoms and lesions can also be clearly seen at a glance, and as the cultivation level increases, this function will also be stronger. She can then cooperate with the pharmacopoeia to prescribe the medicine according to the symptoms. I'll go tomorrow, let's go. I'll treat you to a movie. We'll have dinner together tonight, and my transformation is up to you. I'm starting to lose weight tomorrow, so I'll have a good meal today. Lin Yuan's words made her chuckle peacefully, but she shook her head and followed her. At this time, the movie tickets are only 3 yuan per ticket, which is quite cheap. 2 bottles of cola and a bucket of popcorn cost only 1 yuan, and seeing the movie title on the ticket made me immediately happy. What about the classic movie Titanic? She didn't watch it at first, but later she still watched the female protagonist holding the tablet and crying at the family's house. It was funny to think of being a ghost for a while, and she also cried bitterly, startling the hostess because there was a puddle of water on the ground. After watching the movie, the two of them came out with red eyes and smiled at each other. They accompanied each other to a small hot pot restaurant, which had just been renovated and became an antique in later generations. Many people, who had a childhood flavor, persisted for more than 20 years and closed down due to demolition. The landlady is only in her 30s now, her young face full of laughter and satisfaction, and her eyes filled with longing for life. What does the little girl eat? Our specialty beef pot is very good, 20.1 portions, with braised beef and instant beef, or half each, and 6 portions of vegetables for you. The landlady happily came over to greet Anning and Lin Yuan, who took their seats and ordered half each. The landlady responded and went to work. Don't argue with me, it's 10 yuan per person. Otherwise, I'll leave, do you hear me? Anning still has 50.2 left in her hand. The cinema is given by Lin Yuan, but she can't come to all of this dinner. Lin Yuan sighed as she spoke seriously and made a difficult decision, saying, well then, it's up to you. Clucking, the two of them laughed together again. The beef pot came up quickly, with Chinese cabbage and bean sprouts inside. It looked appetizing. On the fire, it will soon boil, slightly spicy and very appetizing in this big summer. The electric fan is shared, blowing from side to side, one in front of the other, sweating profusely while eating. The two little girls also accelerated their eating due to the heat, and when they finished going out, a gust of hot air blew in, making them feel incredibly cool. Ha ha ha, your mouth looks like sausages. Ning pointed at Lin Yuan's mouth and smiled. Lin Yuan glared at her and snorted, you think everyone is as beautiful as you are. It's really annoying. Even a beautiful woman's mouth looks good when she eats spicy food. You're not bad either. When you lose weight, you'll definitely be a little beauty, Ning said with a smile. She has some toxins in her body, and coupled with her chubby body, she doesn't look thin, but it's not a big problem. I'll come to your house tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock to find you. Lin Yuan walked with her to the station and the bus to her house arrived, waving and getting on the bus. It's not far from home here, and it's still early in the morning. Ning wants to walk back and eat along the way. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. I Feast. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. I Feast. The skilled craftsman was bold and walked peacefully into a dark alley. Halfway through, I saw a strange creature. A male ghost, probably in his early 20s, looking like that is just a joke. Slightly, you can't see me. I'm going to eat you. Such a beautiful little girl must be delicious. No way, when I died, I didn't even find a girlfriend. I want to go home with you, he. I might see some shy scene. He. Should I take a sneak peek first? The male ghost deliberately leaned in and walked calmly, avoiding the other person's mischief, as if he hadn't seen this idiot. However, this ghost is so foolish that she really followed her back and wandered around beside her, causing trouble. Ning couldn't hold back any longer. Just as he was about to leave, a dark shadow suddenly flashed by, grabbing Anning's shoulder. Anning was about to retaliate when he turned his head to face a handsome face. It turned out to be the cold and handsome guy he had met this morning. At this moment, his face was flushed and there were spiritual fluctuations on his body. He was actually a cultivator who built 4 layers of foundation. People in the same path. No, isn't she the only cultivator in this world? Well, master, it was just my guess before. This is the mother planet of the gods, and it is also the place where the gods originated. Some have been passed down, and some have been hidden. Huobao awkwardly responded in her mind. Ning couldn't think of so much at this moment, and she felt that what Huobao said was reasonable, so she didn't dwell on it anymore. Help. Me, Su Yiqing said weakly, almost unable to suppress the effect of the Chun medicine, and also rushed to seek medical attention. How can I save you? The Chun medicine in your mouth, I still want to use my body to save you. Look at you as a serious person, how could you have such thoughts? Humph, fortunately you met me, otherwise, wouldn't you be picked up? Anning wrinkled her nose and said playfully. Su Yiqing was already in a confused state, but for some reason, she could clearly remember the girl's voice in her mind. The male ghost teased him again and said, hey, you can't help a stranger from a young girl's family. Even if he looks handsome, he can't do it. Who knows if he has a human face and a beast heart? You're the one I'm interested in. Gua noise. Su Yiqing waved his hand irritably, and the male ghost was waved out. Anning sympathized with the male ghost who had been hit by spiritual power. Su Yiqing was once again urged to use his spiritual power, and his entire body only wanted to lean towards peace. Anning sighed and quickly led the person into the Qinglan lane. Huobao had restricted this area, and the dizzy Zuyiqing did not realize that she was no longer in the dark alley at this moment. Well, it's okay to save you. It's worth it to give my sister a feast. This is my reward, refusal is ineffective. Anning's heart lit up, and she stripped off all of Zuyiqing's clothes. Seeing him about to pounce, she sprinkled some pool water on him to reduce his medicinal properties. Then he brought his painting tools and painted a nude and beautiful picture of Su Yiqing with a red face, and finally satisfied himself. Huobao gave her the antidote, took it, and fed it into the other person's mouth. While dressing him, he blushed and secretly rubbed the oil on the other person's abdominal muscles several times. Dress up Zuyiqing before taking the person out. As he left, he couldn't help but kiss his lips. When she was with her relatives, Su Yiqing had already regained her senses, but she had not yet been able to move. Thinking of the blurry and fleeting scene just now, he was both angry and helpless. Everyone said it was a reward for saving him, and he could only grit his teeth in anger at what he could do with her. When he fully recovered, he realized that his cultivation had improved after a long period of inaction. He didn't care about anything else and glanced at the place where he had left peacefully, heading towards his temporary residence. As for the person who plotted against him, he will never show mercy again. Anning looked around at the unlucky ghost and found that he had been knocked unconscious by the spiritual power. After some thought, he still picked him up. A red bracelet appeared in my hand, with many dark veins on the top. It was a blood jade bracelet of unknown age, with a small spiritual space inside. It was considered a top-quality magical tool. Anning put it on his hand, dripped blood to acknowledge his master, and threw the male ghost inside. This blood jade bracelet is full of spiritual energy, which will be absorbed by the male ghost and converted into ghost energy to repair his injuries from spiritual attacks. After arranging the male ghost, Anning walked home again. I went upstairs and opened the door. My parents had already returned. My father, An Ziyuan, saw his daughter carrying several bags and quickly stepped forward to take them. He watched her sweat profusely and even fanned her with a fan. Is it hot or not? Have you eaten it? If you haven't eaten what Dad has prepared for you, go take a shower first and then eat some watermelon to cool down. After eating, I met my classmate's garden and went shopping and had some food together, which is why I came back late. Anning explained to his parents, and An Ziyuan hurriedly said, It's okay, you're also a big child. Your parents know you have a sense of propriety, but only a little bit. If you come back so late in the future, you're not allowed to take shortcuts or the main road. Don't worry, Dad, I know. I'm still afraid of that dark alley, Anning blinked her eyes and said calmly. If the unlucky man is not in a coma, he will have to complain about it. Girl, are you sure you don't blush when you say something? An Ziyuan took the clothes to his daughter-in-law and asked her to wash and hang them for her daughter to wear tomorrow morning. Su Liyun took it with a smile and even touched the material of her clothes. Then she quickly went to the kitchen to fetch water and went to the balcony to work. After taking a shower, Su Liyun had already hung up her clothes. Mom, I'm not in a hurry to wear it. I can wash it myself, said Ning with embarrassment. Silly girl, you're my girl. What's wrong with mom washing clothes for her? What's so embarrassing about that? Su Liyun nodded at her daughter's nose and smiled. Anning chuckled and hugged Su Liyun's arm. Mom, let's go eat watermelon. Okay, but don't lean on me. I haven't taken a shower yet, so don't let the sweat smell on you again. Su Liyun pushed her, but Anning refused to let go. Instead, she said, No, Mom smells good. Anning greedily sucked on her mother's scent. In the morning, her parents left in a hurry, and she couldn't get close to them properly. If it weren't for her death, my parents wouldn't have happened like that. That's great, she's back. Thanks to 7 treasures, she had a chance to start over again. This time, she will make her life colorful, making her parents happy and joyful. You child, the older you are, the more clingy you become. Su Liyun doted on her with a smile, while An Ziyuan envied her and said, You should be proud. Our daughter is about to enter her 3rd year of high school. With her grades, even if she doesn't get into a prestigious school in Kyoto, she will definitely be able to attend a prestigious school in the province. If you want her daughter to get close, she will have to take a vacation. Updated 2. There's something going on at home lately. I come back at this time every day to update, Momoda. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Huobao Forest Park. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Huobao Forest Park. Dad, I don't bully you either, as long as you don't mind the heat. Anning also hooked An Ziyuan's arm and smiled happily. Don't mind. An Ziyuan smiled happily. At this moment, An Ning's spiritual pupils automatically opened, and An Ning was slightly surprised. Why did my dad get into a car accident when his face turned out to be wealthy and his lifespan extended? No, upon closer examination, when my dad had an accident, that car seemed to have been premeditated. Why? Dad is just an ordinary factory manager, how could he possibly offend others? This thing is not right. She needs to pay more attention, and her father's fate shouldn't have appeared in an ordinary family like settling down. Is it possible that my father's accident was a premeditated murder? Anning narrowed her eyes, her father's background must be questionable. If that's the case, then the murder would make sense. Looking at my dad's smiling face, my peaceful heart is very calm. No matter what kind of family background my dad comes from, as long as he is her dad, that's all. Even if not, she will still make her parents' lives better, and she is very confident. Silly child, what are you looking at? I have flowers on my face, right? An Ziyuan turned his head and saw his daughter staring at him in a daze, couldn't help but laugh and joke. There aren't any flowers, but my dad is really handsome. Mom, were you attracted to my dad's appearance back then? An Ning asked Su Liyun with a smile. Su Liyun looked at An Ziyuan's smiling eyes and couldn't help but blush. It seems so, Mom, so you're also a shallow person, An Ning said with a smile. What you said, your father is also very hardworking and kind to me. This is what I value the most, right? Su Liyun felt embarrassed and gave a moment of peace. Anning pretended to feel pain and collapsed on the sofa, saying, Dad, my mom is so angry and embarrassed that she wants to kill me and silence me. Ha ha ha. You naughty girl, you make me sound like a big witch. From time to time, laughter could be heard in the living room of Njia, a scene of joy and harmony. The next day, Anning accompanied her parents to finish breakfast and saw them off, then waited at home for the arrival of Lin Yuan. Knocking. Around 8:45, the door was knocked on, and Anning opened it. It was not Lin Yuan standing outside the door, but someone else. Look at you sweating profusely, come in quickly. Anning watched as she was carrying a big watermelon and many other fruits. She didn't refuse, but instead pulled her into the door. This is my towel, if you don't mind, just wipe it. Anning turned around and went to the bathroom to get a towel and handed it over. Lin Yuan didn't hesitate to take it and wipe it. After wiping it, he returned it to Ning Ning and said, "Tsk, this beauty is different. Towels are even more fragrant than ordinary people like us." "Fuck you." Anning hammered her, and Lin Yuan smiled and dodged. Anning shook her head in silence and poured her a glass of water. "Let's have a warm drink first. I just entered the house from outside and can't stand pouring ice water at once." "Listen to you," Lin Yuan nodded and breathed a sigh of relief. Anning left her to drink water, turned around and returned to the room, taking out the recipe she had prepared last night and a few digestive pills that had been infused with spiritual spring water. "Oh, don't say I'm not enough, sisters. I came back last night and wrote it for you for a long time. You must stick to this plan. Your home is not far from my home. Start running with me tomorrow. I'll teach you some self-defense measures by the way." Anning gave her the recipe and plan, and said, "Cheng, it's all up to you." "I was thinking about losing weight this summer," Lin Yuan nodded quickly. "The bottle is filled with self-made digestive meatballs, which have a good effect on me. If you're afraid to eat them, you can skip them." Anning thought for a moment before handing out the food. Lin Yuan opened and sniffed, his eyes lit up and said, "Do you still have this ability?" "Well, it's from our ancestors. I heard my dad say that my grandfather used to be a doctor and kept a notebook and a pharmacopoeia at home. I've been reading them since I was young. I dare not move around, but this small digestive meatball is still fine. If you're not confident, you can skip it." "How could it be? There must be no problem with the fragrance of this medicine. You can still poison me." Lin Yuan closed the lid and put it in his own bag. Anning smiled, whether she ate or not, she didn't mind the food, that's enough. "Wow, your plan is not difficult. I suddenly have confidence." Lin Yuan looked at the plan and became more and more delighted. "As long as you can persist for a month, I'll keep you thin." Anning cut another half of a watermelon and said to Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan nodded repeatedly and looked at the watermelon, suddenly frowning and saying, "Can't I eat sweet things anymore?" "Who said you can't eat sweet anymore? As long as you follow my plan, don't worry, I won't deprive you of your hobbies." Anning was amused by her pitiful way and took a piece of watermelon to pass to her, causing Lin Yuan to laugh like a flower. At noon, Anziyuan and Su Liyun didn't come back for dinner. In the morning, Anziyuan bought a lot of vegetables to entertain his classmates. Anning didn't have much work to do. She made a cold noodles, stir-fried 3 dishes, and 1 soup was enough for 2 people to eat. "Wow, I knew today that Anning can cook. Damn it, it's so delicious. Anyway, I decided to rely on you to take me in before I lost weight. My mother is one of those spoiled. My father happened to have something to do this month, you don't know. I've been living a hard life these days. My mother had fried rice yesterday, and there were egg shells in it. Woo-woo. This is my food expenses this month. Sisters, I rely on you to live." Lin Yuan exaggerated to give 100 yuan to Anning. Anning couldn't accept her money and said happily, "Oh, don't be polite, sister. Give me the money back. Don't want to be friends with me, do you? In order to save you from trouble, you can eat at my house every day and then go back." "Great, you saved my life." Lin Yuan continued to live. He could not help saying, "You are not afraid that you have been roast about your mother, and will read your mother back later?" "Oh, don't scare me." Lin Yuan quickly straightened up and nervously went to open the door to take a look, his whole body seeming nervous. All right, take a break and go back to practice dancing first. I have something else to deal with this afternoon." Anning didn't hide anything and rushed out without hesitation. "Sisters, I've been rushing so quickly. Cheng, I'm leaving. See you tomorrow morning." Lin Yuan wrinkled his nose, took a meatball, and said goodbye to Ning after taking the plan. Anning bid farewell to the forest garden, closed the door, and pulled up the curtains because the unlucky ghost had woken up and was making a fuss in the Requiem bracelet. Updated, please support me, end of this chapter. Chapter 7. Male Ghost Qiang. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Male Ghost Qiang. Oh hey, where the hell is this? Woo-woo, it's all my fault. Why provoke that girl, why provoke that damn man? Alright, woo-woo, someone caught me. Woo-woo, what should I do? That cold man doesn't want to beat me to ashes, right? No, I haven't found out who I am yet. I can't die, I can't die. The male ghost muttered in his soul bracelet, searching for a way out. Anning looked at him like this and felt that this male ghost was cute and funny. Seeing that he was really on the verge of collapse, she stopped teasing him. After making a decision, the male ghost felt like he was being sucked out by a force of attraction and shouted, "Don't kill me." When he realized it, he was already standing in the living room of the peaceful home. Where is this? Ha! Aren't you the big girl from that night? The male ghost snapped back to his senses, realizing that he wasn't dead and was still a complete ghost. He was grateful and patted his chest, letting out a sigh of relief. How else can you die? It's already a ghost, and if you die again, there won't be any more. Tell me, what's your regret? Why haven't you been reincarnated in the ghost world for a long time? Speaking up, maybe I can still help you. Anning looked at him and asked with a smile. The male ghost saw that it was okay and was about to tease Ning Ning again, but was startled by Ning Ning's words and immediately became excited. Can you see me? Of course, if it weren't for me saving you, you wouldn't have had much to eat with the spiritual power that the man unconsciously wielded in your soul that night. Anning nodded and didn't ramble with him. The male ghost became excited and then thought of something. He awkwardly touched his head and said, "So, you know all the silly things I said that night, right? What do you think?" Anning glanced at him, and the male ghost chuckled to conceal his embarrassment. "So, you're an expert, please help me. I only remember when I died at the age of 23 and didn't have a girlfriend. When I became conscious again, I was already a ghost. Wandering in an alleyway in a city village, could you help me find my identity, help me find my family, and let me know who I was and how I died? Is that okay?" The male ghost confirmed that Anning could help him, and immediately fell into the ghost. Anning looked at him without speaking, but instead used his ghostly eyes to look at the predecessor of the male ghost. She was also using it for the first time, and under the guidance of Huobao, Anning finally activated her psychic ghost eye. The ghost eye activated, and what she saw in her eyes was no longer the appearance of her own living room, but a hazy scene, which was a pitch-black alley. There was only one dim streetlight in the alley, and two young people who had been drinking too much walked out from the corner with their backs hooked. One of them didn't know what to say, while the other got excited and punched the person. Following suit, the person who spoke was also angry. He punched the man who had hit him a few times, but before he could release his anger, he stumbled and took a red brick and hit it on his head. The scene that followed my eyes changed again and turned into daylight. The man who had been hit by a brick had become a corpse, surrounded by many people. An old woman sat on the ground, crying loudly. The rest, Anning, couldn't see anything, instead her eyes were very sour. "Master, don't worry, it's already the limit for you to see these things. You're already great. Take it slow, as your merits and cultivation increase, the ghost eyes and spiritual pupils will also change and become stronger." 7 treasures comforted in Ning's mind. Anning nodded and looked at the male ghost, which was Qiang. "In the evening, I'll take you to see your family." Qiang thought Anning was unwilling to help him, feeling a bit uncomfortable, but unexpectedly, Anning suddenly spoke up. Do you know who I am?" Qiang asked excitedly. Anning nodded and then went to find her own newspaper. Su Liyun likes to be neat and tidy, and the newspaper is also collected according to the day. It wasn't long before she found the newspaper from that day. I flipped through it and indeed saw the report of that day. Take a look. You died 2 months ago, your name is Qiang. You got into a fight while drunk with your friend Xiaoli. Xiaoli drank more and was punched a few times by you. In chaos, he picked up a red brick on the roadside and knocked you to death. Xiaoli has now been sentenced to death, but you are the only son of your family. Your parents may not have had a good time in the past 2 months. It's good to go back and take a look, and Ning pointed to the report and said to Qiang. Qiang looked at the report and the blurry photo, and the memories that were buried in his mind rushed down like a water source with an open gate. Woo-woo. It's me who's not good, it's me who's not good. That day, it was me who was too impulsive. Xiaoli wasn't wrong, I was that kind of arrogant jerk. He just fooled around all day, refused to work hard, despised things, and was extravagant. He was still getting old, and as a friend, he advised me to have a few skills, but I couldn't bear it. He hit him, and that's why such a thing happened. I harm others and myself, I'm not a human. Woo-woo. Qiang knelt on the ground and burst into tears, constantly hitting his face. Anning shook her head and said, please calm down first. I'll take you to see your parents tonight, and then you can go to the ghost world. Qiang was still blaming himself, and Anning directly received it into his soul bracelet. When the Ziyuan couple returned, Anning had already prepared dinner. During the meal, Anning said to her parents, Mom and Dad, I'm going to the garden house later, maybe I'll come back a little later. Okay, should Dad pick you up then? Ziyuan and Su Liyun did not refuse, and Ziyuan also asked his daughter if she needed to pick you up. Anning shook her head and smiled, saying, Dad, no need. Yuan's house is only 2 stops away from our house. I must go home at the latest by 9 o'clock. Okay, Yuan didn't say anything more after listening. Instead, he said to his wife, Wife, our daughter's cooking skills are really good. She must have inherited your genes. I don't have such good genes. Fuck you, what are you talking about in front of your daughter? Su Liyun felt a bit embarrassed. This man really dares to say anything, whether his daughter is old or not. Got it, your 2 elders are slowly showing their love. I'm afraid of being stretched to death, so I'll leave first. Anning chuckled and picked up her bowl, taking it to the kitchen. When she returned to the room, she heard her mother scolding her father with a coquettish smile. It's really nice to have the corners of Ning's mouth raised. The urban village in the southern city is still some way from her home and requires 3 more transfers. Fortunately, with the help of Qiang, who had regained his memory, he did not take the wrong path. By around 6 o'clock, he had already arrived at the entrance of the urban village. As she passed through the alley where Qiang had died, Anning took a glance, sighed slightly, and shook her head. Following Qiang's guidance, Anning arrived at the door of Qiang's general. This is a small second-floor building with a small courtyard. Ning knocked on the door. Who is it? A hoarse inquiry came from the head of the room, and Anning replied, Hello, is this the Guo family? Updated, please collect and support. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Yin-Yang Messenger. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Yin-Yang Messenger. With a creak, the door was opened, and in the dimly lit courtyard, a slightly chubby woman stood with a pale face and cloudy eyes. This is a poor mother, with a slight sigh of tranquility. Little girl, who are you looking for? The woman squinted her eyes and looked at Anning, confirming that she didn't know her before asking. Auntie, can I come in and say it? Anning smiled and asked as she heard her neighbor peek out to look. The woman was infected by her smile and nodded slightly. She glanced at the neighbor next door, closed the door, and walked into the house with peace, saying, Little girl, there's a bit of chaos in the house. Don't underestimate it. Old man, we have guests at home. Hurry up and pour a glass of water. Anning also looked at the Guo family. Although the yard was not large and there were many things, it was neatly arranged in the corner of the wall, indicating that Guo's mother was also a diligent person. Entering the room, it was very simple, and the interior was still quite bright under the illumination of an incandescent lamp. "Girl, drink water, I don't know who you are. What's up with coming to my house to find us, the old couple?" Guo Mu finally saw through Ning Ning's appearance. She thought this girl had talked to her strong family before. At first glance, this temperament, this appearance, their strong family must not have that qualification. Thinking of her dying son, Guo's mother's eyes turned red again. Anning took a sip from her glass and then spoke up, "Aunt, Grandpa, my name is Anning. I came here to run errands for your son. I'm different from everyone else. The night before yesterday, I met Guo Qiang in the alley near my house. Don't worry, listen to me. He's already dead and now he's in his soul. It wouldn't be good for him to wander aimlessly in the Yang realm for a long time. I'm not a scammer, and I won't ask you for any money. I'll just send him back to meet you and let go of his regrets, so that he can go to the ghost world and start over again. Guo's father and mother have already been foolish, staying there motionless." With a sigh and a wave of her hand, Ning blocked the incandescent light with a barrier and released Guo Qiang, who was anxiously waiting inside the requiem bracelet. With both hands pinching the formula, she wiped it in front of the two elders. Guo's mother and father only felt a flicker in their eyes, and then saw their pale and slightly pale son standing in front of them. "Dad, Mom, my son is sorry to you." "Woo-woo." Guo Qiang knelt down and cried bitterly. Anning sighed and stood up, saying, "I'll wait for you in the yard. Say goodbye to your parents well." Anning walked out of the room and into the courtyard. With a flash of brilliance in her hand, a spirit pen appeared. Her left hand took out a talisman paper from the Qinglan ring and began to write about Guo Qiang's good and evil deeds in this life. About half an hour later, Guo Qiang drifted out. Guo's father and mother followed suit, and Guo's mother kept wiping away her tears, but she also understood that her son could not delay any longer. After finishing the final stroke of Anning's writing, a faint light flashed across the entire state of good and evil, transforming into stars and disappearing into the flames. Finally, it disappeared into Guo Qiang's body. "In order not to make your parents sad, let me go," Anning said to Guo Qiang, but Guo's mother cried and begged, "Miss, can I watch my son's last journey?" "Auntie, please." Anning looked at Guo's mother, but in the end, she couldn't bear it. She nodded and said, "If you don't let him leave, then you don't want to be sad again. Since Aunt has a request, let's follow your wishes." "Guo Qiang, do you still have any regrets?" Anning asked Guo Qiang. Guo Qiang shook his head and said with a smile, "Missen, I have no regrets. I have already made an agreement with my parents to replace me and apologize to Shaoli. I cannot repay him in this life. I hope to see him again in the next life. I hope we can become brothers again. Next time, I will be willing to help him and repay his debts." "Okay, good luck to you." Guo Qiang had no regrets, and the Ghost Realm channel would naturally open in front of him. However, what Anning did not expect was that two people walked out of the passage. Huobao quickly spoke, "Master, these are the two masters of the black and white impermanence, 2 of the 15 masters of the Ghost Realm. Hurry up and bow. Cultivator Anning has met 2 adults." Anning saw that Guo Qiang and others had already been scheduled on the spot, and knew that their arrival was unusual. He quickly followed the 7 treasures' words and bowed. "Don't be so polite, Missen. My brothers are just taking my master's place and asking for your opinion, Missen. This is a new world that has not yet reached the age of 10,000 years, and there is no one in charge of the creatures here yet. The master has a high regard for you, Missen, and would like to invite you to serve as an envoy of Yin and Yang. As for whether you can be favored by the Creator God in the future and given a judgment order to govern this great world, it depends on your own creation, Missen, what do you think?" Black Wuchang's handsome face was full of smiles as he looked at Anning and asked. Anning was a bit puzzled, but Huobao was very anxious. Master, you can agree, you can agree. Do you know that most adults who become spiritual masters have great abilities, at least at the level of divine kings? If you become spiritual masters, it will be easy for you to avenge your old master Qinglan Fairy in the future. It will definitely only benefit you. Thanks to the Ghost Lord and the two adults' respect, Anning is willing to give it a try. Huobao's words are reasonable, and Anning also wants to challenge herself. So, that's a promise. This is the Yin and Yang envoy's order. The girl has taken it away, and when she sees us in the future, she can just call us uncle. Since she has become our Ghost Realm envoy, it's normal for those ghost-sending envoys to see you and call you Pen Maiden or Miss. Don't feel embarrassed, Bai Wuchang smiled and said. Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much, Uncle Bai, Uncle Black. Anning instinctively wanted to call her an adult, but was glared at by Black Wuchang with a smile before quickly changing her mind. So, that's it. As they spoke, they ignored Guochang and entered the channel again. Soon, a young and thin ghost came out. Gue Cha Zhang Yao, have you met Miss Ning? Zhang Yao smiled and bowed to the ghost realm. Ning Ning was still a bit uncomfortable and smiled, thank you. It's my job. Zhang Yao smiled, and Guochang and others also regained their initiative. Anning couldn't help but sigh, truly a figure at the level of the Mansion Lord, who was able to reincarnate the world time and restore it to its original time. How powerful a force is needed to achieve this? Master, Huobao looks out for you, come on. The Yin-Yang envoy is the first step. Huobao cheerfully encouraged and calmed in the blue mist. Anning responded and looked at Guochang again. Guochang, it's time to hit the road. Thank you again, Miss and parents. My son is unfilial. If there is an afterlife, I will definitely repay you well, second elder. Guochang knelt down again, kowtowed his head, and then followed Zhang Yao into the passage 3 times in one step. After Guochang left, Guo's mother burst into tears. Auntie, Grandpa, I should also go back, otherwise my parents should worry. If something happens in the future, I will burn this talisman and come to help you. Anning left a message talisman and opened the door on her own, leaving the Guo family. Yin-Yang envoy, she will work hard to do it well. Anning held the messenger's token, which had been shrunk to the size of a thumb, and since Rebirth, everything has become better. Has this article been related to previous articles, and can this chapter be considered the answer? Hee Purple Fox Bloods, the Queen's Rebirth. The Proud Wife is the first part, the second part is a Cute Wife, and the third part is a QQ reading entry. However, it is written by Xiao Tang as a peasant girl, and the fourth part is still a serialized master. This is the fifth part, all of which are series articles. For those who have been waiting for a long time, you can go and read the old articles of Fairies first, Momoda, end of this chapter. Chapter 9. She has a master. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. She has a master. The next morning, Lin Yuan was already waiting at the foot of Anning's house. Good morning, Garden. Good morning, Ningning, let's go. Lin Yuan greeted Anning with a smile. Anning nodded and prepared for the run with her. After stretching her muscles, she ran with Lin Yuan. When the two of them arrived at the small park, Zhao Qinghua had already been waiting with Xiao Qin. The old man was practicing Tai Chi when he saw the two of them coming. He smiled and said, Miss Ning is here. Yesterday, my grandfather stood you up. There was something delayed yesterday. It's okay, and Ning smiled and saw that the old man's face looked a bit unusual. He didn't speak out early, but just smiled and said it's okay with him. Who is this girl doll? Zhao Qinghua looked at Lin Yuan and calmly introduced her to him. This is my good sisters and deskmate in Lin Yuan and Garden. This is Grandpa Zhao whom I met the day before yesterday. We are going to exercise together. Hello, Grandpa Zhao. Lin Yuan also called out to Grandpa Zhao along with Anning. Grandpa Zhao smiled and responded, okay, okay. Grandpa Zhao, let me teach Lin Yuan how to do boxing first. Aren't you interested in my boxing too? Why don't you learn it together? Anning smiled and invited him. Grandpa Zhao was also polite, accepted the credit, and nodded in agreement. Mr. Zhao knows Tai Chi and learns it quickly, but Lin Yuansheng seems to be quite impressive when he is young. Miss An, I see that you have a good foundation. Why don't you spar with me and stop right away? Xiao Chen looked at Anning teaching his master and the little girl, and his heart was already itching. Anning looked at Xiao Chen and smiled, okay, as long as Uncle Chen doesn't mind my little girl. How could that be? Let's go over there. Xiao Chen pointed to the empty space ahead and nodded peacefully. The two of them arrived at the empty space, and Xiao Chen first arched his hands and clenched his fists. Anning also made an invitation, and Xiao Chen is truly a retired Special Forces soldier. His skills are very sharp, and he raises his legs and punches with force. However, he is also hesitant and did not use all his strength. Anning also wants to test her own power. She has been fighting against puppets in Qinglan every night these past few days. Those puppets will not show mercy. She knows that her skills are growing rapidly, but she has never fought against anyone before. She also wants to know her chances of winning against them. Uncle Chen, you use your full strength. After a few moves of fighting against Xiao Chen, An Ning suddenly spoke out. Xiao Chen was taken aback and immediately used his full strength, because he was surprised to find that the little girl in front of him was really powerful. But after more than 10 moves, Xiao Chen lost. I lost. Xiao Chen didn't feel embarrassed and rubbed his head. The route is different, Uncle Chen is also very skilled. Anning didn't dare to say that she had only used 50% of her strength, and she also knew her own skills. Pop 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 pop. Huh, good, heroes come out of youth, peaceful girl, you're not easy. Zhao Qinghua smiled and applauded, while Lin Yuan also clapped foolishly, excited. An Ning smiled shyly and suddenly sensed a familiar aura. Turning her head, she saw her father and Ziyuan standing not far away with a surprised expression on his face, still holding breakfast in his hand. An Ning's heart thumped, and after Qi Bao said a few words, she felt a little relieved. Yuan, Grandpa Zhao, Uncle Xiao Chen, I'm leaving first. My dad came to pick me up on the way, and Ning pointed to An Ziyuan standing on the side and said to everyone. Zhao Qinghua nodded to An Ziyuan, who quickly returned. Grandpa Zhao, if it's okay during the day, let's meet at the nearby Blue Mountain Coffee. At 9:30 a.m., do you have time? I want to talk to you about something. Before leaving, Anning whispered to Grandpa Zhao. Zhao Qinghua gave Anning a puzzled look and then said, I have time, so let's meet there and talk about it. Ning smiled and said goodbye to everyone before returning to his father's side. The father and daughter walked quietly, neither speaking. An Ziyuan finally spoke, Ning, you just saw that man fight against Dad. When have you been so skilled in boxing? Dad, I'm sorry, I secretly worshipped someone else as my teacher from you and my mother. My master's abilities are too incredible, and I'm afraid that if I tell you both, you will find it unbelievable, so I didn't tell you the truth. Anning looked at An Ziyuan with a guilty face. Foolish child, no matter what you do, you are always a good daughter of your parents, and they will support you. An Ziyuan smiled and touched his daughter's head, saying gently. Anning's eyes turned red upon hearing this, and she hugged her father's arm, refusing to let go. This child is still spoiled, An Ziyuan said with a spoiled smile. The father and daughter didn't say much until they returned home, when Anning spoke again, Mom and Dad, I have something I want to tell you. Speak up. Su Liyun looked at her daughter gently, calmly spreading her hand. The yin and yang envoy appeared in her hand, growing larger under the gaze of her parents. Then, a small golden light appeared in her other hand, which was the merit and golden light she had obtained after helping Qiang last night. This. Su Liyun was dumbfounded. Anning collected the merit and golden light, and then threw the token into the air, floating it in mid-air. Mom and Dad, when I was 4 years old and my grandmother passed away, I went missing in the mountains for half a day. It was there that I met another master, Qinglan Fairy. The master was a cultivator and a great power. She was chased by an enemy and opened a passage from the immortal realm to our Earth star. If she was seriously injured, she could not survive and could only leave behind her divine consciousness and martial arts. That day, I accidentally broke in and received the master's inheritance. I followed the master's orders and silently practiced on my own. Last night, I didn't go to the garden house, but went to help the soul body of Qiang, who died 2 months ago, fulfill my wish and went. He wanted to see his parents again, so I took him there. This token is the Yin and Yang messenger order, which was taken from the Black and White Mansion masters yesterday. Since yesterday, my daughter has been a messenger walking between the Yang and Yin realms. As long as my daughter works hard to cultivate and helps the ghosts and spirits, she may one day become the palm spirit messenger who controls the life and death of the creatures here. Since the day she received the inheritance from her master, she can no longer be seen as an ordinary person. Please understand and support me, okay? Sang Yu said to Huobao, I told a white lie to my parents, but most of it is still true. This is so unbelievable, but everything in front of me makes me have to believe it. Su Liyun was amazed, and Ziyuan was no exception, but soon his eyes showed endless pride. Ning Ning, all you need to do is promise your parents to be safe. Your parents don't know any big principles or understand what it means to be a messenger of Yin and Yang, but your father knows that your path is not safe. You have also watched those ghost movies, so you must promise your parents and act within your means. Don't be impulsive. You must pay attention to safety, okay? Ziyuan said anxiously. Tell your parents that it's also to prepare for going out in the middle of the night in the future, and I hope they won't be averse to it. If one day you see the name of Sangyu, please let me know. It was the female lead of the previous old book, laughing and crying, end of this chapter. Chapter 10. Honesty and Honesty. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Honesty and Honesty. Dad, rest assured that in the past, I would have had to worry about encountering evil spirits, but now that I have it, the evil spirits will only be afraid to run away from me. This is the Yin and Yang envoy order personally given by the Ghost Master, which has a suppressive effect on the ghosts. In fact, evil spirits are not so scary, they also become so extreme due to injustice. As long as I help them fulfill their wishes, they will also recover their kindness. Ning explained with a smile. That's good, you just need to remember, you must protect yourself. Mom and Dad only have you as one daughter. Mom and Dad don't retaliate so much, no matter what you do, you are their pride. Ziyuan and Su Liyun said at the same time, calmly smiling and agreeing. From now on, I didn't hide anything from my parents, and my heart was also relieved. This is the Qinglan mansion that I drew myself. You put it on your body, parents, and you can't take it off. When I can make jade talismans, you can wear them. If one day they turn into fly ash, you must tell me, you know. Anning handed 2 talismans to the Ziyuan couple. Ziyuan looked at the talisman the size of a little finger cap and felt a slight flicker of radiance above. He was very surprised, nodded, and put it in his pocket. Su Liyun happened to have a necklace pendant to hold and also put it inside. Mom and Dad, it's getting late. You guys go to work quickly. I'm also going to see Grandpa Zhao, whom my dad saw just now. I saw his face and noticed that his family has been having trouble lately. Grandpa Zhao is very kind, and I want to help him get through this difficult time. Anning said to his parents, and Ziyuan also said, that old man just now. He looks like a kind-hearted person. If he can help, or that sentence. Act within his means. We should do what we can. Anning smiled and spoke up. An Ziyuan patted her head and left home with Su Liyun, who had not fully digested her yet. On the way, the two of them reminded each other not to let anyone know about this matter. After seeing off my parents, Anning went to buy groceries again, cleaned them up and placed them in the space to absorb some spiritual energy before heading to Blue Mountain Coffee. Master, it's too troublesome for you to do this. You can buy some vegetable seeds later. It would be best if there are small animal cubs. Huobao is also boring and can help you keep them. They can also be with Huobao. Huobao danced happily in the green mist, transmitting a message to Anning. Anning smiled and agreed, and Huobao was even happier. The Blue Mountain is not far from Anning's home. Anning was about to enter when someone stopped him. Anning. Anning turned around to look at the other person. After seeing them, her face remained unchanged and she nodded at them. It's really you. Why did you come to such a high-end place? In 1998, in a small city like Z City, the Blue Mountains were indeed a good destination. Lin Jiao, first of all, we are not familiar with each other, and it has nothing to do with where I go. Moreover, you are not my parents. You manage so much, don't you feel like choking? Originally, Ning's grades were good, but they were too quiet, so she wouldn't be bullied. However, this Lin Jiao is Ning's jealous cousin and Jiang Jingying's good friend. Therefore, whenever I see peace, I always speak up to run away or even bully. You, do you have the money to enter such a place? It's so pitiful that Ying has such relatives. Your father likes to eat soft food and has become a burden to the Su family. You probably don't have such genes in your family, do you? Maybe you've fallen in love with some old man. Lin Jiao began to speak incoherently, talking nonsense. Anning's eyes narrowed slightly and she approached with a smile. Lin Jiao instinctively took a step back, then remembered Anning's weakness and straightened her chest, angrily saying, "Why? Ah! You dare to hit me? There's not nobody around here. You're a little girl who said such malicious words. What's wrong with me hitting you? My dad is just a soft meal when he's in trouble. At least he's still the director of a factory. How much do you know about my family? Why are you talking nonsense here?" Anning slapped the other person 2 times without any hesitation. Pa, that's right. Zhao Qinghua clapped his hands and his eyes became sharp as he looked at Lin Jiao. The little girl looks good, why is her mouth so vicious? She's just like this at a young age, and she can still handle it when she grows up. You, Ning, Lin Jiao and I are at odds. Lin Jiao saw everyone around her pointing at her. After all, she was still a little girl and couldn't stay any longer. She cried and left a sentence, then ran away from the crowd. Anning shook her head. If it weren't for her own rude remarks, why would she have attracted such criticism? Grandpa Zhao laughed. Anning smiled awkwardly, while Zhao Qinghua chuckled and even said it was okay. He walked into the coffee shop with Anning. In the crowd, a pair of eyes were fixed on Anning and Zhao Qinghua as they entered the coffee shop, with a malicious smile on their lips. What to drink? Today, Grandpa Zhao will treat you. Zhao Qinghua took Anning to the private room, and Xiao Chen stood at the door thick. Anning smiled and said, "Then I really won't be polite." Anning ordered a caramel latte for herself, and Zhao Qinghua also ordered one. After the drink was served, Anning began to say, "Grandpa Zhao, when I saw you the day before yesterday, your face still appeared to be full of blessings. Today, it seems that good luck is overshadowing you, and your face is also showing signs of being a villain. It seems that this is not serious, but if it continues for a long time, it may cause considerable trouble." Not long after her death, the imperial jewelry suffered a major crisis that almost went bankrupt. Now it seems that feng shui has been disrupted by people. Anning girl, you. Zhao Qinghua hesitated slightly and then looked at Anning, unsure of what to say. As Grandpa Zhao has seen, I am not an ordinary high school girl. I have been practicing with my master since I was young, something that ordinary people have never touched. After more than 10 years of practice, I have also gained some skills. Therefore, today when I saw Grandpa Zhao facing difficulties, I invited him out for a chat. Anning smiled and looked at Zhao Qinghua. Zhao Qinghua's mood was a bit difficult to calm. At most, he had just met the girl, but the other party was so helpful to him. How could Zhao Qinghua not be moved? Grandpa Zhao, don't be too moved, because I have a big heart, little girl. Since I have learned some skills that others don't have, I really want to change my own living conditions. That day when the girl met Grandpa Zhao so happily, she also had her own small plan. Having someone like you as the leader for the little girl can help her avoid many detours. However, as cultivators, we also value fate, and Grandpa Zhao is closely related to the little girl. The little girl cannot see Grandpa Zhao step by step into such a crisis. Grandpa Zhao is the fate of the continuous blessings, so it is. Even if the little girl doesn't lend a helping hand, you can still get through it. Of course, it will also slightly damage your vitality. Anning is not afraid of how Zhao Qinghua looks at her, and smiled heartily. The update has arrived, the male lead will not come out temporarily. He broke through and covered his face with a smile. End of this chapter.